And here he is in such a broken place. Now, I think I was talking to my mum about this last night, actually, and we were talking about significant emotional events, and these being the sort of things that can change people or affect people forever. And Ian has gone through so much in his short period of being on the show in his life, that it's incredible that he's actually been able to keep this strong for so long. So obviously whatever happened with the Mohawk, we've not gone into it yet. I'm sure we will eventually learn about this, but that has obviously affected him in such a way that he is no longer able to find happiness. And it's only through Roger does he actually begin to see a bit of light, a bit of hope, which is kind of ironic in a way, because there's Roger being very in his head, also in the same position, but these two men actually finding each other and seeing each other helps them both. And I just, as you say, I love how beautiful that is.
I think that's one of the really cool things about the scene is that we don't really understand, mental health. It's very complex. It's something that we really, really can't get inside. And but I would hazard to think that one of the clues in the script is one of heartbreak. It's something I can very much relate to, and certainly any time I've felt down or ever had any experience with like that kind of thing were linked to the loss of someone I love, either through circumstance or death. I remember an acting teacher of mine once said, you can't become an actor until you've earned your first paycheck, you've paid your first rent, and you've had your heart broken. And this scene seems to me to be a lot about heartbreak and those kind of things. And I mean, you've been acting since a very young age, and I'm wondering, when did you earn your first paycheck, pay your first rent, and have you ever had your heart broken?
Well, I earned my first paycheck when I was 8 years old, which is pretty surreal to think, but that was I won a competition to win a part in Doctor Who.
Competition?
Competition. It was a Blue Peter competition. So I don't know if you'll know that, David, but you know what I'm talking about, Tim.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I have my Blue Peter badge. So this is like a children's television show, and they often partner with Doctor Who. It's on the BBC. It's still going. And this year I was at the right age to audition for this amazing competition, which was to win a part actually in Doctor Who for any up-and-coming sort of young talents or whatever. So I'd entered it, didn't think anything of it, actually probably was more pessimistic, this will probably go to somebody that knows somebody, but actually no, it turns out they were genuinely looking for somebody, and went down, got to the next stage, went down and auditioned with funnily enough, with Annette Badland. She was part of the workshop. Yeah, because she played one of the Slovene, which was these monsters in Doctor Who. So she was there.
You win a competition too. Is this how all casting is done on Doctor Who? You just have to win a competition.
Must be. And Andy Pryor was there as well. So that was a really amazing experience. And then I ended up winning the competition. And Russell T Davies was the one who called me to tell me that I got the part. And it's so funny because only recently have I been up and actually seen Andy Pryor and talked to these guys again so many years later. And they were part of the reason why I'm still here. So it's always lovely to do that. So yeah, that was my first paycheck. Paid my first rent when I was like 17. Pretty normal.
Wow, not really. It took me
Yeah, it's good in this day and age. Goodness me.
So you were really happy to get out of your parents then?
Well, do you know what? It's not that I wasn't happy to get in. I'm sure I was always wanting a bit more independence, but that's just kind of normal teenage things. But my parents had been a part of my career the whole way through, When I was 8, we had to have chaperones and tutors with you on set, obviously. And my mum's a teacher, so she could have been my tutor, so that's what she did. And my dad would take time off work to be my chaperone. So we were really a unit. We worked together, which meant that in this crazy up and down, world, which can be really difficult to navigate as an adult, never mind as a child, when you're not fully understanding the highs and lows of it all, you know? When I would go on set and I was like 10 years old, it was like adrenaline constantly. I loved it. I loved being a part of it. And then you go back to school or you go back to your normal life and it'd be such a dip. And you wouldn't, it's addictive and you wouldn't understand it. You wouldn't be able to kind of wrap your head around it. So that's why I was so lucky to have my parents who kept me real, kept me grounded.
And essentially gave up their careers for you.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they would take time off. So, like, we went to New Zealand to film The Hobbit, and that was like a year of our lives. So they took time off to do that. But I mean, when are you going to get the opportunity to go out and live in New Zealand and make a film like that? My dad's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So he was like, absolutely, I can, he's a bit of a geek, so like me, I get that from him. And I think it was when I went in for the audition for The Hobbit and Peter Jackson was there, and he was asking me whether he could bring in his Gollum statuette to get signed. And I'm like, Dad, stop.
Dad will always embarrass you, John.
Absolutely, I love it. Because I was going out there for a year. So they also needed to check that my parents were normal, sane people too, if they're going to be around a lot. Luckily they are. And yeah, so that's been like, my career is kind of unique up until this point because I've always had these people, nothing to do with the industry, but only to do for my happiness, which has been pretty amazing.
So how have you had time to have your heart broken and all that? Or have you?
I mean, I have been pretty lucky. I have people that I can talk to. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like, when I was 17, as everyone, my gran passed away. But that was a time where I was surrounded by family, and I was surrounded by people I could talk to, which is why it's so heartbreaking at the moment because you can't be there for people and you can't have these conversations in person. So I was able to understand what was going on. So that's something I draw on. But I also, I also just think, a lot of things can make you sad. You just need to figure out what that emotion is and deliver it when the time comes,
Dead pets or something? That what you draw upon, Tim? Your hamster?
On that front, the Downy household is never particularly pet friendly. I think I had a fish once that I didn't even realise you had to feed. So I found it floating on the surface one morning and was quite unperturbed by it. But, yeah.
Right. I had a similar thing when I was a kid. I had a fish, and it didn't take me very long for me to kill it either. I had this idea that the fish needed food, right? And then fish do need food, and my parents kept the fish food right next to the fish bowl. And I think just me, I was like, oh, fish are hungry. Fish always want fish food, so I kept filling the fish bowl with fish food, and then the fish overate and died. And I remember waking up in that morning, it was probably about 3, it's one of my earliest memories. Wow, we're going deep here. And I saw that the fish had died. And it's because of something I did, because I overfed the fish. And I couldn't understand how you could die from overfeeding. But there you go. So my good intentions killed the goldfish.
Bless you.
I never really recovered from that trauma.
I can see.
Still reliving it.
Yeah.
And see, when I go to dark places, I really am thinking of that goldfish. But there's a litany of dead pets that followed me after that, much like there's a dead
pet cemetery around his house.
Yeah,
like around there.
There was a dead hamster. There was a dead rabbit. And, we shouldn't get into it. It's just very macabre. Not like this. We should get back to this scene, right? There's no refuge here. But aside from heartbreak, one of the things that there's never a good reason why someone might kill themselves. I don't think we can ever really justify that. But it seems to me another reason that something that's playing upon young Ian here is this issue of change and identity. And Ian has undergone a huge change from being a boy in Scotland to becoming a Cherokee warrior.
And really just having no one to talk to about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. That understands what he's gone through. Yeah.
And he seems to be, if I'm right here, really in conflict with who he is. I'm presuming the love that he had to give up was over this issue of his identity. Ian wasn't a Cherokee, therefore he wasn't allowed to be with the woman he loved, and because of this, Ian maybe comes to hate his own identity. Maybe if he'd been Cherokee, then he would be in this pain. And I'm wondering what you think of this issue of identity here and of being in conflict with your own sense of who you are, and how do you relate to Ian's pain in this scene?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, well, Ian's pain here is obviously something that has been built up for quite a long time, you know. And I think, you know, we're going through a period now where we are stuck inside and we're not able to fully be ourselves. So I can understand his almost inner monologue, his inner saboteur affecting him in a way, because I'm having to physically fight that too, you know. But I think I think the reason why he just comes so serious is because he has no one to talk to about it. And it's that feeling of being so alone. So it's hard to relate to that because I have always had people around, you know. But I know that's not the case for everybody. And certainly isn't the case for young Ian. So, yeah, it's a tough one, but it's...
In your times of strife, who do you turn to? On set, or, you know, who's that person for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, it is my mum, absolutely. You know, I will go to my mum and I will talk to her about anything, and she's one of those people that you just somebody makes it clear to you, you know. But on set, I mean, if you guys are around, absolutely, I'll be coming to you guys.
Don't you ever come to me, John. We don't even know what scene you're doing.
This is it. And unless you're bringing like a tea or a cake, I've checked out already.
And you're already, you don't care. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, as I spoke about earlier, Stephen was a huge help. He was somebody that really was able to key into what I was feeling and really help me get there. And also, I guess it's also your fellow actor, you know. Here it was with Richard, who absolutely killed this episode. I mean, really in awe of him, especially in this episode. And because of that, you know, you felt that you were getting a good volley with him. You were getting a good rapport. So he was somebody that I really did go to. And he was always really generous, just making sure, you know, giving me a wee wink. That was good, you know. Just to kind of keep your own voices inside your head affecting you too much, you know.
I suppose that's the problem as well, is when you get a scene like this, it's very easy to become very isolated, because it is a tricky thing to do. It's not an outward thing where you get an immediate response. It's such an inward working, and because you're peering into that microscope as to what's going on inside someone, it can kind of make you quite insular. You can't kind of take yourself away. You kind of physically move away from a group to kind of find that placement. And I think that can be very, very tricky. And also, so you need that camaraderie just to kind of just keep you, be it director or fellow actor, just to keep you on that sort of straight and narrow, as it is a performance as well at the end of the day, and you need to convey it.
And I think that really relates back again to the issues of mental health the scene brings up. You know, it's like it demonstrates the importance of talking about our problems or having someone to talk to, and just asking someone if they're okay can really make a huge difference, because you never know what someone's going through, even if they'd appear to have everything in order. And I think it's beautiful that Roger is that person, because in many ways he isn't the perfect person for Ian to talk to. It's Ian's frustration with Roger that in turn helps him come to a better understanding about love and loss.
Yeah, and I think it's also, you know, at the end of the scene, you know, there's just that little bit of hope, which I think is something we're all needing at the moment, you know, for Roger to kind of, without saying it, but basically, bad times will end. You know, this is not going to last forever. You need to keep fighting. And sometimes you just need to hear that, you know. And I think that's it. In that moment, yes, it's the drama of Outlander and it's the huge thing, but what it really comes down to is just somebody telling you the thing that you wanted to hear or you needed to hear at that right moment.
Because we all often look to young Ian to be that character, you know, to give us the hope.
It's true.
I think of all the characters, young Ian is one of the characters, like you said earlier, who we observe undergoing the most physical and psychological change. I mean, he's constantly subjected to these very big, life-changing traumas. You know, like in season 3, like you were captured and raped by
kidnapped. All of that.
But through it all, he seems to maintain this sense of optimism and hope. And like you said, right now the world is in the midst of a pandemic, and I'm wondering, in times of adversity, you know, whether they're on set or in lockdown, how do you cope? Are you able to maintain a sense of optimism yourself, like young Ian?
I try to. I try my best to. Absolutely. I mean, I think the whole thing is you just got to find that thing that you got to do every day that just makes you happy, right? That little bit of self-care, whatever it is. I recently got, I think I'd downloaded something. It was like 105 things to do in quarantine that aren't Netflix.